Don't you just love the fall? The crisp air, the falling leaves, the shockingly expensive seasonal drinks. Tastes like price gouging. Starbucks now charges $1 extra for matcha and an extra 80 cents of flavored syrup. So you've really got to savor every sip. But hey, they have to make up for plummeting sales somehow, right?
Well, of course the sales are plummeting because nobody can afford to buy their drinks anymore. If you're talking like $7 to $12 for a Starbucks drink, at that point, just go buy a meal somewhere. Oh, hello, Blue. Here's some DoorDash prices that I pulled up, and some of these are like basically $8 for a cold brew coffee. Like, that's absolutely insane. And if you want it to be large, you're up to $10. And that's not even with any add-ins or anything like that, of which there seems to be quite a few. You could easily go $12 or $15 for this. At that point, just make it yourself and then get like a Subway sandwich for basically the same price. I used to enjoy Starbucks occasionally until the price just became not worth it, and it seems like lots of people in the last year agree with me. Their stocks are down 11%. Their stocks basically haven't shifted in 5 years because people don't want to deal with it anymore. And if we look at their peak, they're down from that pretty significantly, 30% from their peak, because they charge too much and it's simply not worth the cost.
Yeah, it's safe to say customers are fed up with Starbucks.
A Starbucks drink the size of my pinky toe being $7.
You go and you pay $7 for a coffee and you sit down in a crowded area, and then you have to wait like 45 minutes for it.
The wait was forever, no matter how you ordered.
Count your motherfucking days, Starbucks. This shit, I'm so sick of it.
And behind the counter, Starbucks workers are just as frustrated with the company, its prices, the condition of its stores, and new unfriendly policies.
Yeah, and the fact that they union bust. Starbucks is notorious for firing people for performance issues, but it's seemingly exclusively at stores that seem to be in union talks. And I understand maybe not being able to pay very much because sales are going down. I'm not even entirely opposed to that, but they brought on the new CEO a couple years ago, Brian Nicole, and they paid him something absurd, like almost $100 million. And you're like, well, where's that money for the workers who are actually producing the product that people are wanting to buy, or I guess not wanting to buy?
Starbucks calls its employees partners, which is intended to really call them in and make them feel like family and like they're part of the business. The workers really stopped feeling like partners.
Their changes that they made recently have definitely made it worse.
You're not supposed to have more than 10 drinks that haven't been served to customers in the time that they're ordered. My store regularly goes up.
Oh my gosh. Okay, at some point it is on the customers, right? If there are this many drinks out, it's because the customers aren't coming and getting them. At some point it's no longer, the employees cannot really do anything about people ordering a drink, paying for the drink, and then just not picking it up off the counter. This sucks.
To 30 or 40.
It wasn't that long ago that Starbucks was beloved as the progressive, socially conscious corporation. Now it's facing—
Not even socially conscious. It was like something of an icon. All old movies ever included some kind of a Starbucks mention or a Starbucks run, or the new boss at a company would show up and he would have Starbucks for all the employees. It was kind of the feel-good American coffee brand that represented good, fast, casual coffee. Everyone knew it and loved it, and then they just absolutely tarnished that.
boycotts, strikes, and longtime customers calling it a ripoff. So what happened? Here's how corporate greed backfired and took down an iconic company, and how workers, not an ultra-rich CEO, can save it.
Starbucks was kind of the king of the world. It also had such a dominant place in the culture. You saw it in movies.
5 iced venti decaf percent lattes with a long straw.
And it was just this phenomenon in which everybody, I think especially young women, felt like they needed to be at Starbucks because that was the cool thing to do.
Starbucks was really in its heyday during the late 90s, early 2000s. That's when it was really like the third place for people to relax and enjoy really good coffee.
Starbucks experienced explosive growth during the early 2000s, expanding from 3,500 stores in 2000 to 15,000 locations by 2007.
Then the financial crisis hit in 2008, and I think that's when things really started to change. Because while in the past it had really been focused on the baristas and the consumers, with the financial crisis, suddenly the focus was on the shareholders.
Out of the recession, Starbucks had new priorities: international expansion and automation. The company
I wonder when Starbucks went public. Was it around then? 1992. So they had been public for a long time before the 2008 financial crisis hit. 16 years. I guess their priorities were suddenly different because all the shareholders had lost a bunch of money in other investments. And so they were pushing all of the companies they had control over to try and basically make up for the losses they had sustained in 2008, which obviously is not working out super well. I think we can all agree. But it's so weird that you're a cultural icon and then you would decide that we're going to change the strategy to try and make more money faster when you were already growing at an absurd pace. Probably one of the fastest growing coffee chains in the United States.
Introduced mobile prepayments in 2014, and by 2016, 40% of Starbucks locations included a drive-thru. In 2021, the company declared that pickup-only stores were the future. The idea of the third place was dead.
There were some controversies involving people who got kicked out of stores for lingering too long, people who had the police called because they were trying to use the restroom. And that was kind of the beginning of a new era in which Starbucks was a little bit more hostile to the customer. They wanted to get you in, serve you your drink, and get you out of there.
I feel like that was already happening though. By the time these controversies had hit, people are already turning on Starbucks and they're already not making money. Those were like in the early 2020s. The brand as a whole had been doing poorly for a while there, probably because of this more like we get more customers faster and then try and do other things. I think getting rid of the third place was a huge one. My local Starbucks got rid of all the seating, and so I stopped going there, but this was back in college, but I stopped going there because like I went there, I got some coffee and I sat down and did my homework. But then when they got rid of it, I was like, well, I guess I'm not going to go then.
There are now 41,000 Starbucks locations worldwide. But with all the focus on maximizing sales, the actual product they were selling began to suffer.
I got a bacon, egg, and Gouda. I swear to God, I bit into it and it like squeaked.
Their food portions over the years have gotten noticeably and significantly smaller.
This is a venti, okay? This is the only drink up to this line, maybe like right here where the ice is. This is the only drink in the whole entire thing. More than half is foam. Tastes like shit.
The chaos unleashed by the new model created unprecedented demands on the staff, longer wait times, and unhappy customers.
Isn't this just the same thing that we're seeing from Chipotle? If you have money invested in like Google, who is returning just unbelievable behemoths of money because of AI and also future AI hype, and then you're invested in Starbucks as well, then you're going to look at your Google one and be like, oh, well, that's up 100% in 2 years. And you're going to look at Starbucks and be like, that hasn't budged in 5 years. So you're going to pull your money out of Starbucks and put it into Google. So Starbucks, unfortunately, has to keep up with other AI companies because that's where all the investor money is going to go. Same thing with Chipotle. So they've got to start cutting corners, they think, to try and keep up with those companies. But obviously that's not working because they're alienating their customer base.
I think customers have really begun to notice that their stores feel different than they did along, when they first started going to Starbucks. Maybe there's 1 or 2 baristas in the entire store who are cranking out, hundreds of orders every morning. I think they see that their stores are maybe a little less well maintained.
The stress only got worse during the pandemic, so workers began to unionize store by store. In response, Starbucks started a CEO carousel, declared war on the union, and began a multi-year crash out.
There's been so many Band-Aid fixes over the past few years. It seems like many times a year they roll out a new system that's supposed to address all of our problems. So it'll be like a new system for dispensing ice or milk or whatever. And then they roll it back because they realize it's stupid.
The company...
Didn't they roll back most of their automation and start hiring human workers again because the automation just wasn't working as efficiently as they had thought? Starbucks says cutting shop staff in favor of automation has failed. The chief executive, Brian Nicole, who's the new CEO, vows to fundamentally change strategy in face of worse than expected results. So they tried to do a ton of automation to try and get the drinks made faster to be able to serve more customers faster with fewer people, but it straight up just wasn't working out. The articles don't go really into detail of what specifically wasn't working out, but they weren't making money off of it, and so they're having to roll it back.
He cycled through CEOs and comeback plans, including high-tech latte machines that failed to make a splash in the kitchen, and Schultz conceived olive oil drinks that made too much of a splash in the bathroom.
It doesn't just cause stomach problems, but some serious diarrhea can ensue.
Up to that point, Starbucks' relationships with its workers stunk too.
And we have to demonstrate to our people they can trust us, and we have to show up.
Could you ever see doing that and embracing the union as part of it?
No.
Starbucks. Every CEO ever does this bullshit corporate speak where they're like, we want our customers and, we want our employees to be able to come to us and talk to us. They trust us. We're looking out for them. So they're like, oh, well, that's basically what a union is, just a formalized version of that. And they're like, oh, we don't do unions here because that means that, the employees are bad and they have to pay money. Like it just be part of a union. If you're not part of a union, trust me, life is better as part of a union.
Workers say the company is intentionally spying on their union gatherings.
We've had a total of 10 union baristas fired in our area.
There is always more because Starbucks just won't stop.
And negotiation sessions were superficial at best.
What we've seen from the Starbucks representatives who have come to the table is indignant rage at the mere suggestion that somebody else would have any say in how even the most minor thing is done at the company.
I think that the company is absolutely delaying, trying to make this take as long as possible so partners are fed up and say, I'm over it, or, move on.
They just backed out of our bargaining process altogether.
So the union fought back with countless strikes and workplace actions.
Good morning! You're striking!
I don't think people thought that Starbucks was going to be like, yes, this is a worker-owned co-op now, but I don't think they expected the company to fight tooth and nail, at least in the beginning, for every advance that these workers wanted.
Which, unions are immediately good for the workers and in the long term are good for the companies, because in the short term, you have to almost immediately raise everyone's pay, and then you might have to pay out more benefits, et cetera, et cetera. So essentially in one fell swoop, you're paying everybody more money, which is, in general, that's a good thing. But because of that, your profits are going to take a hit. Eventually, as the workers enjoy more and they have better lives, they will work harder and return that productivity. Look at companies like Boeing, Ford, et cetera, et cetera. Lots of companies with strong unions are doing quite well. But that takes time. And if your main concern is your next quarter's earnings, well, when they unionize, it's going to look terrible because you had to pay all of them more and you haven't received those benefits back yet. Those could take months or even years. So of course, Starbucks is going to fight this, but that's why the workers are the ones with the say, not Starbucks corporate.
And then in late February 2024, this happened.
The coffee giant and the union Workers United have agreed to begin talks aimed at improving labor relations and resolving lawsuits between them.
Workers on the union's uniquely large bargaining committee say things were looking positive.
We have a lot of amazing tentative agreements, a lot more job security, democratic ways of participating and actually having a say in the operations, ways of enforcing the contract, holding the company accountable to it.
But by the summer of 2024, Starbucks' stock price had fallen 15%, and that fall, sales plummeted by 10% thanks to boycotts, inflation, and bad PR.
If I'm scrolling TikTok and I see someone talking about some Starbucks drink, I will almost inevitably see a comment that says, Bestie, we don't go to Starbucks anymore. They're union busters. Or Bestie, we don't go to Starbucks. They support the genocide in Gaza.
So the company made yet.
The white girl demographic is such a strong financial demographic. It is crazy that you would alienate it by trying to skimp them out of their portion sizes and then also union bust. What are you doing?
Another pivot. Instead of negotiating over the last phase of the contract, the pay and benefits for more than 10,000 workers, Starbucks took all that cash and threw it at one guy, handing a $96 million check to the former CEO of Taco Bell and Chipotle.
I still love burritos, but now I really love espresso.
Brian Nickel, the company's fourth CEO.
Look, I don't think Starbucks is in the right here. Absolutely, I think they're in the wrong. I don't know about her phrasing of they threw all of that money at the new CEO. His pay is $96 million, and if you divide that by the number of Starbucks employees there are, each Starbucks employee could have been cut a $265 check. I just did the math. $265 is not nothing, but to not have a CEO and every employee just has $265 more, like that's not going to move the needle on anybody. So it's a bit disingenuous to say that as if all of the pay for all however many tens of thousands of employees have gone to this one man. That's not exactly right. I see the sentiment here where they don't care about the employees, they're caring about the executives and the shareholders, et cetera, et cetera. But the specifics of what she's suggesting are mathematically incorrect.
In as many years, soon introduced his own grand turnaround plan, back to Starbucks, which he has called an attempt to recapture the soul of the company.
I think it's paramount that
If you want to recapture the soul of the company, then start treating your workers better. Like, what are you talking about?
Starbucks gets back to recreating those places where communities come together, people come together, and they have that connection with the barista and obviously their community.
Honestly, I was pretty hopeful. I think when he came in, a lot of the things he was saying was like, We want to bring sort of like a coffee house experience back to Starbucks.
And it did sound promising, but the plan began to look a lot different upon execution, especially for less wealthy clientele. The average price of a grande brewed coffee has risen 49% since 2020, while Nickel has also instituted stealthier increases.
So instead of having a name for a Frappuccino with every flavor, you now have to pick like a base Frappuccino and then pay 80 cents to add a flavor.
Last time that I went to Starbucks was June 16th, and I paid $5.14 for my drink. Today, for the exact same drink, I paid $6.77. What the fuck?
Loyalty rewards in the app have also been restricted, so the average total order price has risen by 1 to 4% every quarter since Nickel took over.
Okay, restricting loyalty rewards is ought to be one of the worst things that you can do in order to alienate, because these are specifically the people who come the most often and spend the most money at your institution, and you're specifically targeting them. That's crazy, right? Like, I'm not even opposed to prices being raised. Like, whatever. If people want to go, they can go. It's coffee. It's not essential. If people want to go, they can go. If they don't want to go, they don't have to go. But if I was on the executive seat and I hear that they are taking the most loyal people with the highest money and amount of spend and they're going to punish them, I'm like, what are you doing? That's our primary customer base. Those are some of the few customers we have left. We're losing money. It's just such a weird group to alienate.
If you fiddle around in the Starbucks app, you can build quite an expensive coffee if you get a little outrageous with the additions.
Holy, $17? Dude, I could go to Taco Bell and feast for $17. Their cravings menu, you could probably get 10 burritos for $17.
Since Brian, they've stopped offering free water and bathroom access, which Starbucks was known to be pillars of their communities for that reason.
My district manager said that it was being too soft and that it was like our emotional side getting the better of us for letting a mother of a small child use our bathroom without purchasing a cake pop or a bottle of water.
We have to kick them out, which of course puts us in unsafe situations. We don't have the staffing to be constantly sending people off the floor to go talk to customers and kick them out.
Last year, Starbucks cut 8% of its staffers, despite opening more than 500 stores. That's multiple staffers per store, yet those who remain say they don't get nearly enough hours. The union has been trying to fix this from the very start of its organizing.
If you're staffing in such a way that a single call out is enough to throw an entire shift into disarray and make it a nightmare for the rest of the workers without doing anything to alleviate that or adjust your expectations as a company, I think that in and of itself was a large galvanization.
Nickel's solution to understaffing, the green apron shift supervisor, mostly just stands around and barks orders.
If corporate walks in, they want to see the leader of the team holding an iPad and doing nothing, rather than supporting people on the floor, connecting with customers, and helping where it's needed.
That's crazy. If you have an extra person that's not allowed to actually do a job, then what is the point of them? Look, shift supervisors are actually important. Just someone to call the shots and keep everything up to date and on schedule. That's good. I get that. I've worked in fast food. I know those people are necessary. But like, if someone's off register or sick or has to go to the bathroom, just being down a person is crazy. Like, that person should just jump in and help out until whoever it is can come back or someone else can come in and take over the shift.
And the workers behind the counter have even more to do now.
We're mandated to write on every cup now, which just completely destroys your flow when you're trying to make 1,000 drinks a minute. People draw smiley faces and they were told, you can't draw smiley faces, you have to write full sentences at peak.
People are waiting on
full sentences during peak hours? That's crazy. Also, imagine if you have terrible handwriting and you just like have no idea what you're saying.
their drinks and watching baristas write a happy little message on them instead of passing the drink out and actually looking someone in the eye and saying, have a great day.
All of these policies, including a draconian change in dress code, have come from the top.
Dude, at that point, just have a stamp. You just walk by and it's just like, have a great day, stamp, give them their coffee, have a great day, stamp, give them their coffee. Or have it pre-written during off hours, just have them write, have a great day on hundreds of cups. Hire one person a shift. It'll cost you, what? I don't know how much wages are, $12 an hour? For like $36, you can knock out the whole day's worth of cups just by writing have a great day already. Or have them shipped to Starbucks with have a great day already printed on them in like a handwritten looking font. There's no reason during rush hour the barista should have to be taking 15 or 30 seconds writing out full sentences of messages to customers and getting behind. I mean, if you're doing that, you're actively not selling coffee, which is what you're a Starbucks. How could you not sell coffee?
Top down, without any notice from Nickel or other executives. That wouldn't necessarily be the case if the company and union had a collective bargaining agreement, but negotiations have fizzled under Nickel, who previously oversaw opposition to a union effort at Chipotle.
Around like October, the company really started to stall. And it was when we were working on some of our biggest priorities, things that are really going to change people's lives, like better wages, better staffing and scheduling.
And instead of negotiating, Starbucks just unilaterally decided to shut down over 400 stores, including 59 union shops that were said to be underperforming.
The reason they're not doing business is because they've changed it so that stores have to be open till 9 p.m. even when they only are really that busy during peak or lunch rushes, and suddenly they're open for 9 hours that are entirely unprofitable.
Without progress in talks, the union has been ramping up to a possible strike this holiday season. Earlier this month, it held over 50 practice pickets nationwide.
We'll be back! We'll be back!
Including the one we covered in Philadelphia.
It's been a year since Brian Nickel has joined Starbucks, and frankly, nothing has changed for the better.
These people don't live in the real world like we do. These people are out of touch. But I got good news. There's a lot more of us than there are of them.
I really think our union is a godsend to this company that is has been in crisis, is losing customers. And here we have this incredibly motivated group of 12,000 plus workers who are saying we know exactly what it's going to take to make this company work, to improve the experience for the workers, to improve the experience for customers.
It's so weird to me when executives and people of upper management just decide this is better, this will help more people, this will improve everything, and they've never worked a day on the floor. It happened all the time when I worked at Burger King. They would roll out new systems and new updates, and the regional manager would come by and say, this is how we're doing it, these are the new machines we have, this will make things better, and everybody was universally like, no, it won't, and we know it won't because we actually do the work, and you don't know it won't because you sit in a fancy office somewhere and make 12 times my salary. Nobody ever consults the people doing the work to ask if their work can be done better or faster or easier, etc., or how they can actually support them and actually make change on a ground level. It just doesn't happen for some reason.
Which ultimately should make the shareholders happy.
Great video. That was Why Starbucks Sucks Now by A More Perfect Union. Thanks for watching.